At the start of this year, I was getting fat and weak. My entire adult life, I hovered around 170 pounds. I never bothered to weigh myself because it was always about the same. But then I started to notice my pants felt a bit tighter, and I wasn't sure, but I felt like I had more belly fat going on too. So I found the scale and blew the dust off it. When I looked down, I was shocked. I was 195 pounds. Following that little reality check, I looked in the bathroom mirror through more objective eyes. I looked terrible. My shoulders were tiny, my chest was shrunken, my arms were all spindly, and I looked kind of doughy and flabby. And I knew the diagnosis straight away. Dad bod. My son Lachlan was about 18 months old at the time. It had certainly been challenging to stay strong and healthy since he showed up, but I'd done okay the previous year. I trained for the Edmonton Marathon through the summer, pushing the little guy in his stroller for hour after hour. I wasn't going as hard on the strength training as usual, but I was still managing to sneak in at least one workout a week. After the marathon in the fall, though, the bad weather came. Normally I put running into kind of maintenance mode for the winter and focus on strength training. However, in spite of the fact that we had an 18-month-old baby and were a single income household, I decided it was a good idea to start my own business. So I got up at 5 every day and worked on the business for a few hours before I went to the clinic job. Then I'd come home and try to summon the motivation to go run with the little guy and the dog in the freezing cold. When he eventually went to sleep a few hours later, I'd go to the fridge, grab a beer, and then go back to work. As you can imagine, my sleeping and eating habits worsened, and strength training became a distant memory. Fast forward a few months, and I'm standing on the scale in the bathroom looking fat and weak. It didn't take long. You know the worst part though? I felt like a total fraud. The reason I'm so passionate about helping runners who are injured get back to training is that I understand running is the linchpin for many people when it comes to their health. I wanted to create a business that not only got them back to training, but helped them continue to improve their overall health for the long term. My little saying is that I want to keep runners running into their 90s. So I was spending most of my time talking to athletes about their health while I was becoming progressively more fat, weak, and unhealthy. Feeling like I was a bad example for my athletes and my family, I knew I had to make a change. So I decided to start with the thing that had really fallen by the wayside: strength training. So why strength training? Well, it does have a ton of benefits, but these are the big 5 for me. Number 1, it makes you run faster. About 5% faster on average. That's about 13 minutes off the average marathon finish time. Number 2, it stops you getting injured. When you hit the ground with each foot strike, the impact will travel up the leg. You can better attenuate those forces with strong, powerful muscles. This reduces the chance that you'll overload the joints, tendons, and bones and get injured. Number 3, it makes you healthy. It's proven positive effects on sleep, bone density, insulin sensitivity, mental health, blood pressure, lipid profile, and a bunch of other stuff. Number 4, it reduces age-related decline. We lose about 1% of our muscle mass each year beyond the age of 30. That means a 65-year-old runner who does no strength training could have lost 35% of their muscle mass by the time they retire. That's where Frailty comes from. And number 5, it reduces body fat. Less belly fat, bigger muscles, so you look good in your swimwear. So strength training is awesome for your running, and it's awesome for your health, but more importantly, it would help me look good without a shirt on. So when I sat down to write my strength training plan, I took the same approach I use with all the runners I work with: focus lifts. Okay, bear with me, I know that sounds strange, but it is important. The fact is, the majority of runners do no strength training at all. Of the small percentage that do, most are just wasting their time. The reason being, they aren't actually getting any stronger. If you take a runner who's never done any strength training and give them a program of 3 workouts a week, they will get stronger. It doesn't even really matter what exercises you get them to do. Their body will adapt to the resistance and become stronger. The problem is, after a few weeks, those strength gains will start to plateau. The body has become strong enough to handle those workouts, so it doesn't need to become any stronger. Unless you're progressing your strength training, you'll plateau in strength after a few weeks. From that point forward, you're maintaining your strength, you're not increasing it. Now, don't get me wrong, maintaining some strength is much better than nothing, but you won't realize those performance improvements unless you have a system to progress your strength training. The system I like to use to progress my strength and that of my athletes is called focus lifts. The focus lift is simply the most important exercise in a workout. It's the one we're going to focus on. I usually put it early in the workout, just after some mobility work and a solid warm-up. The focus lift that you choose would depend on your objectives, but the most common ones I recommend for runners are a squat and a hinge. Now, squats and hinges are movement patterns, so there are lots of examples that would fit into those categories. For the sake of simplicity, I'll give 2 from each. For the squat movement, you could use a back squat or a split squat. For the hinge movement, you could use a deadlift or a single leg deadlift. So that's what I did. I decided I would do 3 strength sessions a week and have 1 focus lift for each. Monday, it would be deadlift, Wednesday, the bench press, Thursday, back squat. Now that I'd chosen a focus lift for each session, I needed to know how I was going to progress my strength on those lifts. That's where working max percentages come in. To use working max percentages, first up, I needed to work out my 1 rep max. A 1 rep max is simply the maximum amount of weight you can do for 1 rep. So for the deadlift, you just keep adding weights to the bar until you can't pick it up. Whatever the heaviest weight is that you can lift once, that's your 1 rep max. Now, I'd been off lifting for a few months, so doing a 1 rep max wouldn't be very sensible. It's the same with most runners I work with. Unless you're a very experienced weightlifter, doing 1 rep maxes is more risky than it's worth most of the time. However, that's not a problem because you can just use a lighter weight, see how many reps you can do, and then plug it into any 1 rep max calculator that you can find online. That's what I did in January. So for my deadlift, I started with 135 pounds, just added weight each set. By the time I hit 245 pounds, it was feeling pretty heavy. I lifted as many times as I could and I managed 6 reps. I plugged 245 pounds times 6 into a 1 rep max calculator online and it told me my estimated 1 rep max was 294 pounds. This estimated 1 rep max is sometimes referred to as your working max. So my deadlift working max was 294 pounds. Now that I know my working max, it's really helpful to set a goal. Just keep it simple. I want to add 20 pounds to my working max in 3 months, for example. Pick a goal that you find motivating and seems achievable within a few months. I decided on a 2 times bodyweight deadlift. That would be 390 pounds for me with my current weight, bearing in mind that I got a bit of dad bod going on. So I was making some dietary changes because I expected that to come down. However, even if I lost 20 pounds, a 2 times bodyweight deadlift would still be 350 pounds. Now, my working max was only 294 pounds, so I gave myself the whole year to hit 350. Next, I used percentages of my working max to progress my focus lift. A simple rep scheme I use often is 5 sets of 5 with a 10% increase on each set. So, 5 reps at 50% of working max, then 5 reps at 60%, 5 at 70%, 5 at 80%, and then for the last set, using 90% of my working max, I would do as many reps as I can. So since my working max was 294 pounds for the deadlift, my sets and reps would be 5 reps at 145 pounds, then adding more weight, 5 reps at 175 pounds. Next set, I add some more weight, 5 reps at 205 pounds. Next set, take a rest, add some more weight, 5 reps at 235 pounds. And then for my final set, I would do as many reps as I can with 265 pounds on the bar. That's 90% of that working max that we worked out earlier. When I do the maximum reps I can on that last set, I can take that number and plug it in to the 1 rep max calculator again to get my new working max. There are lots of apps that can actually do this for you. At the minute, I use one called Train Heroic. This progressive system prevented me from going too easy on myself. As long as I calculated the working max and then worked out my sets and reps and as percentages of that, I'd get stronger. All I have to do was show up and hit my numbers. So that's what I did. Showed up, hit my numbers. The system progressed my strength training for me. I continued running, made some small changes to my diet. None of this was particularly easy, but it was pretty simple. It's September now, and I've lost 20 pounds. I'm back down to 175 pounds. My 1 rep max estimate, or the working max, is at 335 pounds, so just 15 more pounds to go. Looking back, I can see I was heading down a pretty dark path. I know it's a familiar one to many of you dads listening. You want to be lean, strong, and healthy. You want to set a good example for your kids and your family. I do too. But life has a way of throwing these wrecking balls at us. By the time we pick ourselves up and get our bearings, we can't understand how we ended up where we are. The fact is, though, if we want to be healthy, we have to be strong. Creating a progressive strength program will help you see improvements week on week, month on month. Setting a goal to increase your working max will help you stay motivated, just like racers do. We can't stop life's wrecking balls. They will keep coming. But we can make sure we're strong enough to take that hit when they come. If you're struggling with dad bod and you feel like a wrecking ball just hit you, we'd love to help. Just click the link in the description to set up a free call.